subscribe and click the bell icon to turn on notifications.
Welcome to QuickBooks 2021. My name is Cindy. We're starting now on Module 4, and this is the module where we're going to talk about customers and jobs in QuickBooks. A customer is a business or a person who buys from you. A job would be an individual job that you do for a customer, and you might do multiple jobs for the same customer. Not every one of you will use the job feature. Some of you just have customers, and that's okay, but I want you to know how all of this works in QuickBooks. Let's go ahead and flip over and I'll start talking to you a little bit about how customers and jobs are set up in QuickBooks. The customer list in QuickBooks is actually called the Customer Center, and there are a few different ways to get there. You can use this option right here, where you can click on Customers to get to the list. You can use your icon bar. There's an icon that says Customers. And then on the menu, if you click Customers, the first option says Customer Center. All three of these options take you to the same exact place. When you're looking at your list of customers here, you'll see that there are customers listed, and underneath it, if you see things that are indented, those are jobs for that customer. The customers are listed in alphabetical order by last name. Now that's not automatic in QuickBooks. You actually have to set it up that way. That's probably the best way to set it up, last name, comma, first name, even though you don't have to, but just be consistent with however you're going to set up your list. You'll notice you'll see the balance the customer owes you over in this column, and this last column lets you add an attachment, which would be maybe a bill that you've received or something you want to attach to that customer so that you don't have to search for it in your computer. When you're looking down this list, I want you to notice that currently you're looking at the active customers. You could also look for customers that have an open balance, maybe some with an almost due invoice. You can also look at all customers. If I click on all customers, you'll notice that if there were any that were inactive, I would see them in this list. Now, what I mean by an inactive customer is one that maybe you haven't seen the customer in 4 or 5 years and you want to hide them from your list. You could actually take this X and click next to that customer. And if they have jobs, it will say, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And you could say yes. And now that customer and job are hidden. They'll show up here, but if you're looking at active customers, you will not see them on the list. If you have a customer you've made inactive and you'd like to activate them again, you can just click the X there and it will ask you if you want to activate the subs, meaning the jobs below as well. You would just say yes, and now you can see that Robert Allard is active again. When you're clicked on a customer or a job, you're going to see the customer information over to the right. This would be information like the customer's name, their billing address, their phone number, email, things like that. You'll notice the email is an actual link. You could actually email the customer right from here if you wanted to. Also over on the right, you will see in this notes section any notes that were pinned. And what that basically means is when I show you the notes down here on this tab in a few minutes, then you'll see that if there's something specific you want to stay there so you can see it quickly, you can pin it. Notice I can actually drag this down a little bit if I want to see the other options. And here are some reports for this customer. You'll notice you can run a quick report, and that's going to give you just different transactions that happened with the customer. You can see their open balance. If you're using the estimates feature, you can show any estimates for them, and also a customer snapshot. You can also get a map or directions to this customer's address right here. At the bottom of the window, you'll notice that there are several tabs. The first tab automatically shows all the transactions for this customer and job. Notice I'm looking at all the ones for this customer right now, but if I click Family Room, I'm only seeing the ones for that job. If you don't want to see all the transactions, you can filter this list. Maybe you want to see anything that was for this month or anything that happened last week. You can do that as well. At the bottom of this tab, you'll see it says Manage Transactions. When you click the down arrow to the right, this is where you can go in and create a new estimate for this family room, or if you want to create an invoice, any of these. But chances are you're not going to be on this screen when you want to actually create those transactions. You can do them from the home screen. You can also run reports here, and that will show your report on this customer and job, the family room. Now let's look over at the Contacts tab. These would be any contacts related to this customer or job. Right now we have Christy, and she's the primary contact. If I go down here next to Manage Contacts, I can edit the selected one or add a new contact or delete this one if I'd like. I'll just click on Edit for a moment so that you can see the types of things it asks you when you put in a new contact. You've got several different fields you can use. You can put in the job title of this contact, their first name, you can see last name, and then these fields here you can use for any of these options that you see on this list over here. I'll just go ahead and cancel out of that. The next tab over are your to-dos. To-dos are things that you have to take care of related to this customer or this job. A to-do might be you need to send a fax, you need to schedule a lunch meeting, you need to work on the plans. Any of those are what we call to-dos. Let me show you how to set up a to-do because these are very handy when you have different things you have to take care of. I'm going to go down here to Manage To-Dos and create a new one. A to-do can be a phone call, a fax, an email. You can see the list here. Let's just say it is a call, and you can set the priority for your to-do. Is it high, medium, or low priority? And it's going to assume it's with this customer and this job unless you change this. You can set the due date. Let's say you want to set this for December the 4th. And if you want to set a specific time for that, you can do that as well. Down here, you're going to set up the details of your call. You can also tell QuickBooks if the status is active, has it been done, or is it inactive, and then click OK. Now you can see your to-do in a list format. The only place this will show up is when you first open QuickBooks. If you have turned on the preference to show the reminders, this would show up on your reminders list. If you've already completed this particular to-do, all you have to do is where it says done, if you double click there, that'll take you into the edit option and you can change the status to done and then click OK. And now you'll see there's a check mark to the left indicating you've completed that to-do. The next thing you'll see is notes. This is where you can set up any notes related to this particular customer or job. You can actually go down to the bottom and add new and type any notes that you'd like right here. If you want to put a date stamp on these, you just click right here and now you can see that you can type any notes right after that. You can say that you called Christy to see about the meeting. You can also turn this into a to-do from here, or you can print this out if you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and now you can see there's my note that I just created. The last thing is you have a tab that says Sent Email. You have the ability within QuickBooks to email different forms. You might email an invoice. Maybe you want to email a purchase order. This tab here will show you a list of the things that you've emailed out to your customer. Things will automatically appear under this tab. At the top of your screen, you can create a new customer and job. You can create new transactions. This is where you could create an invoice or an estimate or any of these. Chances are you're not going to be on this screen when you're ready to create those transactions, but that option is available. You can go in and print your customer and job list if you'd like. You can see there's several variations of that. You can also export your customer list into Excel, or if you want to export the transactions, you can do that too. You can also import from Excel. So if you already have a customer list set up in Excel, you can import it in or just copy and paste it from Excel here into QuickBooks. You also can do a mail merge with Microsoft Word. There are several different what they call letters already set up that you can actually convert into your own letters, add merge fields, things like that. And then there's an income tracker where you can go and look at the income related to this customer. Let's go ahead and stop the video right here. This was part 1. I want to take you into part 2 where we actually go in and set up a customer And that way you can see all the fields where you can put information related to a new customer and job. Hey there, welcome back to QuickBooks 2021. My name is Cindy. We are working in Module 4 where we're talking about customers and jobs. This is part 2 of the customer and jobs portion where we're talking about how to actually set up new customers and jobs. Let's flip over to QuickBooks and I'll show you how to create those new customers. We're in the Customer Center and this is where you're going to go to create a new customer and job. You can see if you click the down arrow, it asks you which of these you'd like to create. Notice you can also add multiple customers or jobs at the same time. This would be where you go if you already had this information in an Excel workbook and you wanted to actually import that information into QuickBooks. But let's go ahead and start with a new customer. The first thing it asks you at the top is, what is the customer name? We're just going to say it's Tom Allen. Now remember that our list is sorted last name, comma, first name. So make sure that that's how you type it here. The next thing it wants to know is, what is the opening balance? The reason it's asking you this is, as of the start date of your company file, it wants to know how much money did Tom Allen owe the business. That way it can have the correct opening balance for Tom's account. I personally don't like to do that because let's say that the customer owed you $1,000. Their account would be correct, but you would have no way of knowing that that $1,000 was really 3 separate invoices that total $1,000. I like to go back and actually put the invoices in that the customer actually owed as of the start date of my company file and then leave this blank. The next thing you want to do is put in some address info. The first thing it wants to know is the company name, and a lot of this is just informational. If Tom doesn't have a company or you don't want to put it in here, you don't have to. But I'm just going to go ahead and put something in here. I'll just say ABC Plumbing. And then it wants you to put in Tom's full name. I'm going to say Mr. Tom Allen. Now a common question here is, if you have Tom's name here, why do you want to put it here? This information here is just for the list. One of the features that QuickBooks has is the ability to do a mail merge with the information in QuickBooks. If you have information in these fields, then it can pull the customer's first name, the customer's last name. If you don't have any information here, then it's not going to be able to pull that information. You've got a place for the job title. And then you can see any of these fields can be represented by whichever one of these titles that you choose. For example, if you wanted this field to represent the alt phone, for example, then you could choose that and then type the phone number over here. The next thing you'll notice at the bottom is the address details. When you invoice your customer, it's going to pull this block onto the invoice, whatever's here. So you can arrange this information any way you like. You'll see it brought down the company name and it also brought down the name Tom Allen. I'm going to go ahead and edit this a little bit. I'll say attention Tom Allen. And then you're just going to click at the end of the customer's name and enter and go ahead and plug in the rest of the address. Let's say it's 55 Draper Street. And we'll say that's in Charleston, South Carolina, 29401. However you type this information in is how it's going to pull. If you have a situation where you have a customer that asks you to ship their items to one location and to send the invoice to another location, then you can actually set up this ship to information over here. But if you don't need that, you can leave that blank. Let's head over to the next tab, which says Payment Settings. The first thing it asks you is, do you have account numbers for your customers? And if you do, you can plug in that account number here. You can also set up the payment terms. When you invoice a customer, you can say that their invoice is due in 30 days, 60 days. You can kind of see the list here. And if you're not sure about these two options, what this means is that if you invoice this customer, it will be due in 30 days. However, if they paid in 10 days, they can take a 1% discount off of the price on the invoice. And typically a business will take the 1% off of the physical items not any shipping or charges like that, but that's really up to you. I'm going to pick net 30. Do they have a preferred delivery method? Meaning, do they like their invoices emailed or mailed or none? Is there also a preferred payment method? You can see all the payment methods are here. If you need to add one, you can click Add New. Let's say you want to add PayPal, for example. Then you can just put in here PayPal. And if you want to pick a payment type from this list, you could. But I'm just going to click OK. And now you'll see that PayPal is one of your options on the list. Now, this doesn't mean that they pay with PayPal every time. It's just information for you to know that they prefer to pay with PayPal. Down here is their credit card information. You do not need to fill this information in. As a matter of fact, I would not do that. If you have a customer that asks you to keep their card on file and to charge it whenever you invoice them, you could keep it somewhere else, but don't keep it in QuickBooks because then you're liable if something happens. The next thing you'll see over here is the credit limit. You can set a credit limit for your customer. If your customer exceeds the credit limit, QuickBooks will have a message that pops up just letting you know that, and then you can still create that invoice for that customer. You've also got price levels. If you've decided, for example, that all of your commercial customers should get a 10% discount, you can go ahead and set up that price level. The way it would work is you would click Add New, you would give it a name, and then you would say that this price level will decrease the items on the invoice by whatever percentage. We'll say 10%. And you would just click OK, and then that one would be on the list. You also have online payment options for your customers. If you want to let the customer automatically pay you by bank transfer or credit card, you can do that. Now, you would have to set this up with Intuit. You would actually have a button on the invoice itself when you send it over to the customer that lets them click there and go ahead and automatically pay you. The next tab over is your sales tax settings. If you charge sales tax in your business, then each customer can be taxable or not. And this is where you tell QuickBooks if they are taxable or non-taxable. An example of a non-taxable customer would be a nonprofit organization that purchases from you. The next thing you want to tell QuickBooks is if they are subject to sales tax, which tax do they get charged? We're going to talk about sales tax in a later module, but once you have those items set up, you can come back here and pick that sales tax from this list. You also have a place for a resale number. What that means is if you have another business that's similar to yours and they come to you to buy some items to put in their store, they may have applied to the state for a resale certificate, meaning they don't have to pay sales tax when they buy those physical products from you. If the customer has that sales tax exemption certificate, you would choose the tax code non-taxable and then put in their resale number right here so that you have that in case you ever need it. The next tab over is additional info. You can have different types of customers. It might be like in this example, they have commercial and residential customers. If you have sales reps in your organization, you can set those up so that you'll know which sales rep works with this customer. The custom fields on this side, you won't have any fields here. You have to create your own. These three were created for the exercise. The way they were created is you come down here to define fields. You type in the label, whatever you want the field to be named, and then check off if this field should be available for customers, vendors, and or employees so that you don't have to set it up 3 different times. Once you set it up and click OK, then it will be the next one in the list here. Now there's one more tab on the left, and that's job info. If you're setting up a customer, you don't set up job info. This would be set up on the actual job itself. That's pretty much what you have to tell it when you're setting up a customer. I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and we're going to see that Tom Allen is in the list. Now you'll notice that since the list is alphabetical, it didn't put Tom alphabetically in the list. What you need to do to resort it is click on the label at the top, the word name, and that will resort the list and it moved Tom Allen down where he belongs in this list. If you ever want to edit Tom, the easiest way to do it is double click on your customer And then that will take you back into this information, and you can edit this any way you like, and then click OK, and then you're done. Now let me show you how to add a job. And remember that all of you won't use the job feature, but if you do, this is how you will do it. Make sure you're clicked on your customer, and then come up here and choose Add Job. You'll notice that it pulled all of the information from your customer, and you can edit that information if you need to, but you do need to add a job name. I'm going to say Kitchen Remodel. You can look through each of your options and make sure everything is still the same, but when you're finished, go ahead and click OK. And now you'll see Kitchen Remodel is indented underneath Tom Allen, indicating it is a job for that customer. Now, just so you'll know, you can have as many levels deep as you want. If you want to create a change order or something that goes underneath Kitchen Remodel, you could do that as well. You do it the exact same way. But typically, if you get more than 2 or 3 levels, you will confuse yourself. So it's a good idea to stick with the way you see it set up in this list here. I'm going to go ahead and close this. Now that you know how to create customers and jobs, let's head on over to the third video in this module. I want to talk to you about a new feature in QuickBooks called Customer Groups. Hey there, welcome back to QuickBooks 2021. My name is Cindy. We're working in Module 4, and this is video number 3. I want to talk to you a little bit about customer groups. This is a newer feature, and it allows you to create groups of customers, and then if you'd like to email that group or do some other things with the group, you can do that as a whole. Let's flip over to QuickBooks, and I'll show you how to set up a customer group. To create a customer group, head up to your menu and click on Customers, and then point to Payment Reminders. The last option in this menu says Manage Customer Groups, and that's where we're going to go to manage our different groups that we've created. If you have any already created, you'll see them in the list. You'll see there's one called My Group. You can see a description if there was one set up, when it was created, and you can also see if there's any actions. Actions would be you can edit the group, delete the group, or send an email to the group. Let me just mention that you can't delete the group if you've used it in any other place in QuickBooks. Let's go ahead and create a new customer group. I would like to create a group for all my residential customers. And if you want to add a description, you can do that as well. I'm just going to click Next at the bottom. What I'd like to do is I want QuickBooks to look at the customer type field, and if that field is equal to residential, those are the ones we want in this group. You then want to make sure you click Add. If you don't hit Add, it will not add it down here, and then when you click Next, you'll get a little error message. I'm going to click Next, and now you'll see here all the customers that meet my criteria. In this search box, if you want to search for a customer by name, you could certainly do that. If you don't want someone to be part of the group, just come in and uncheck them. And it will tell you if you uncheck them that you're not going to be able to add them back to the group going forward. So you need to make sure that's really what you want to do. I'm going to say no and leave that checked and then click Finish. And now my group has been successfully created. When I come over here to select, if I want to email this group, I have the ability to do that from this window. Here are all the customers and jobs in this group. If I don't want to email one of them, I can uncheck them. Over here is where I'm going to have all my information for the email. You can see it's going to come from my business. If I have a file to attach, I can click right here and attach that file. I'll want to add a subject and then put in the body of my email right here. Make sure you check your spelling because you want to make sure that you look very professional and you don't have words misspelled. Once you hit Send Now, QuickBooks is going to take a few minutes to actually send these out. You can see right here it says QuickBooks will take 16 minutes to send these emails and won't be available. I'm going to hit Close, and that's how you would create a customer group and actually send them an email. I'm going to go ahead and close that. And that's how you work with customer groups.
This video is part of our full QuickBooks 2021 course. Take a look at the course by clicking right over there. If you're not a subscriber, go ahead and click down below to subscribe so you get notified about similar videos we upload. And to see more QuickBooks Pro 2020 videos, go ahead and click over there.